Really appreciate y'all coming to check this video out. I know there's people saying that I really need to nowadays to make $1 online, so navigating through those weeds can often be pretty difficult. I wanted to start my channel off by giving an overview of who I am, what I did on my journey to get into tech sales, and then just kind of why this video and my future videos should hold any merit while you guys are kind of exploring the option of tech sales. So to start off, I already have a ton of valuable content moving forward, but this video specifically is going to be going over my story and how I went from my Marine Corps career to making just over 6 figures in tech my first year. So there's no fluff, and I won't be keeping out any of the bad stuff or keeping out any of the good stuff. This is going to be a really brief video, just kind of an overview of my situation, because I know a lot of you are probably going through similar stuff. So if you are considering getting out, you're currently transitioning, or even if you guys have been out for years now and just haven't really found your spot in civilian life and looking for something a little better, both financially and like for your schedule, I really encourage you to take a few minutes just to hear my story and how hopefully I can help you guys get in the same situation. Now, I started off my Marine Corps career as a 3521 or a motor T mechanic. I got on those yellow footprints just like many of you did, not really knowing what I was getting myself into. But I managed to make it to my first schoolhouse and actually pick up a meritorious promotion for being top of my class. That was about the beginning of 2014. And then from there, I got my first duty station. So of course, I was going to be sent over to Okinawa, Japan. Needless to say, my girlfriend of 3 years at the time wasn't too thrilled about those orders. But it is what it is. Now, I spent the first 2 years at my duty station overseas, and when the monitor asked when it was time to rotate out what I wanted for my next move, I had initially requested MARSOC. He asked me if I wanted to re-enlist, and I wasn't too sure at the time, so he said, no, I'm not going to send you to MARSOC, but I'll go ahead and send you over to 2nd Recon on Camp Lejeune instead over there in Courthouse Bay. While over at 2nd Recon, I trained with some of the best dudes I've ever met. I had got married to my wife of 5 years at the time, and then decided to go through A&S, or Assessment and Selection for MARSOC, for Marine Corps Special Forces. Now, my situation was a little different from most. So after I was selected from A&S, I got orders to move up to an earlier class of ITC over on Stone Bay. And because I got pushed to this earlier class, I hadn't re-enlisted yet before starting ITC. So I was going through all the motions with no re-enlistment papers signed. So to this day, I still wonder what things would be like if I hadn't got pushed to that earlier class. And I say this because ultimately I decided to withdraw from ITC when my re-enlistment came up. I felt I had made a life for my wife and I and dedicated myself to her before all of this Special Forces stuff. So I ultimately decided to not re-enlist, transition out of the Marine Corps, and move myself and my wife back to our hometown. Now, this is where things kind of got really shitty for me. I jumped around from job to job for over 5 years after that transition. Switching from military to civilian life was really difficult for me specifically. I know it's probably a struggle for some of you out there too, whether you want to admit it or not, because I didn't for a long time. But I struggled, and the internal struggle I had led to ultimately the separation of myself and my wife. Still an amazing woman to this day. I just felt like I didn't belong anywhere anymore. And so I would never have the opportunity to really reach my full potential again. And that eats at you a lot. And it's one of the main reasons why I hope you guys don't have to go down a similar path. So fast forward another couple years, I found myself working, over 24, 36-hour shifts at my local public utility district. So I get back to the house, a couple of my buddies and I were renting a place out in Seattle. And I'd get back to the place, be completely drained. I wouldn't have enough time to go to the gym, not enough time to do laundry, or even hang out with my buddies after work. It was just get up, work, sleep, repeat. And I was stuck in this cycle. I wasn't going anywhere from there. No dreams or aspirations of getting anything bigger. So one of my 3 roommates at the time I was living with was actually working as an SDR for a mid-size tech company. And he came into the kitchen one day while I was grabbing some food after a shift. And he had been seeing how much I was working and not being able to do much else. And he said, hey Mike, I really think you should look into switching careers, man. I think you should, evaluate maybe tech sales. I think you'd be really good at it. And so after that little conversation in the kitchen, I really dug into it. I took that opportunity to, look into it a little further. I took some time to speak with some folks and actually took some educational courses about it and pulled the trigger to update my resume. I updated my LinkedIn. I focused on breaking into tech sales. And, after landing my first gig as an SDR with a cloud automation company, I was able to completely change my life and start getting back on a better track. Without that push from a buddy, without that knowledge of some of those courses I took and some of the things I learned to break into the industry, I don't think I would have, ever been able to land that first job, and I would still probably be working those 24, 36-hour shifts day in and day out. So all that, ultimately, that was a very condensed and brief version, but I've created this channel for that very reason, right? So I want to help each and every one of you avoid those mistakes I made, the feelings of resentment I had, and the struggles I dealt with, because transitioning out of the military is tough, whether you want to admit it or not. So if you are interested in learning more about my journey and maybe the steps you need to take in your own journey to kind of reach a similar outcome. Like I said, my first year I went over 6 figures at tech sales, and it's nothing crazy, and I know each and every one of you can do it. So if you're looking to provide a little bit more for your family, have a purpose, again, please feel free to check out some of my other videos. I'm not a person who likes being on camera or YouTube. I hardly knew how to set up this entire thing here in front of you, but if I can do this for myself, I know I can help each and every one of you do it as well. So I appreciate your time today. Feel free to check out some of my other videos. I'll put some links to some really cool courses in here and just kind of talk about anything I can to help you guys out. So anyways, appreciate your time. Thanks, y'all.